marital status. If you suspect that you have experienced housing discrimination, file a complaint with HUD immediately so we can investigate it. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
To learn more, visit hud.gov/fairhousing. That's hud.gov/fairhousing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
How's work? If you're not loving your job and you're getting those Sunday blues, now's the time to make a change. With a LinkedIn app, it's now easier to find and land the job meant for you. There are millions of jobs on offer, and the LinkedIn app helps you hear about them first. Research shows applying within the first 10 minutes increases your chances of hearing back by up to 4 times. Stay in the know and grow your career. Download the free LinkedIn app today.
Just because you travel doesn't mean you can't keep your routine. The more obstacles travel puts between us and our well-being, the more we strive to sleep well. At Westin Hotels and Resorts, we're focused on empowering your well-being. With our award-winning Heavenly Bed, you can get the restorative sleep you need and meet the challenges of the day head-on. Don't leave your well-being behind. We give you the choice to get up or to rise. Search Westin online to find out more. Westin, let's rise.
'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can fill your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Battery's running low. Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We heart in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
The jerk.
Very appropriate.
I'm doing the fly.
Doing the monkey.
The mashed potatoes.
Jump back, Jack. I'll handle that.
See you later, alligator.
Hey, back here and get the roast on.
Grab a brand new recyclable bag today and do the Albert Bartlett.
From Bloomberg Television, here's Sherry Ann.
Robots have replaced thousands of routine jobs on Wall Street. Now they're coming for higher-ups. That's the contention of Marcos Lopez de Prado, a Cornell University professor and the former head of machine learning at AQR Capital. We have seen the changes because of machine learning in finance, but how much faster could these changes occur, and what's driving this wave of change?
Well, what is driving is data. Today we have data sets that were not available 2-3 years ago, and the only way to model these data sets is utilizing these complex techniques.
When it comes to that congressional hearing that we had recently, of course, the lawmakers were very concerned about bias, whether it's racial bias and so forth in these artificial intelligence mechanisms. Is that easy to fix?
Not easy to fix, but definitely it is easier to identify bias in an algorithm than in a human. A human will make a few hundred of decisions in a year, and to identify whether a human is biased is very difficult. However, we can conduct millions of randomized control experiments on an algorithm to identify whether there is bias. And when there is bias, we can correct it. And an algorithm that was biased before this correction will not be biased afterwards. I'm much more concerned with bias in human decisions.
Hear more interviews like this one on Bloomberg Television, streaming live on Bloomberg.com and on the Bloomberg mobile app, or check your local cable listings. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm Karen Moscow. It is 6:17 on Wall Street. This update brought to you by IBKR and CME Group. The new micro E-mini futures contracts are available at IBKR at the lowest commissions. Learn more at IBKR.com/CME Mini. Bloomberg Daybreak is out on customer terminals, bringing you all the news you need to start your day. Let's get a check of the latest headlines with Hannah George at the Bloomberg Daybreak desk. Good morning, Hannah.
Good morning, Karen. Nancy Pelosi is raising the stakes. The House Speaker won't name a prosecutor in the Senate impeachment trial until, quote, we see what the process is. President Trump spoke in Battle Creek, Michigan, as the House voted to impeach him. He spent more than 2 hours discussing his administration's achievements and said Democrats showed deep hatred and disdain for the American voter. The Bank of England was hacked. The central bank is asking regulators to investigate how high-speed traders were able to listen to audio of its press conferences before the official broadcast. And Sweden's central bank ditched negative rates after 5 years. The Riksbank hiked rates by 25 basis points to bring its benchmark to zero. For all the news you need to start your day, check out Daybreak on your mobile phone on the Bloomberg Anywhere app. Karen.
And a thank you. And S&P futures are little change this morning, up a point. NASDAQ futures up the same. Dow futures up 23. The DAX in Germany is down 0.33%. 10-year Treasury down 8/32, yield 1.94%. Yield on the 2-year 1.64%. NYMEX crude oil is up less than 0.1%, up 4 cents at $60.97 a barrel. And COMEX gold is down 0.1%, down $1.40 to $14.7730 an ounce. The euro 1.1131 against the dollar. The yen 109.54. That's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Now here's Michael Barr with more on what's going on around the world. Michael.
Karen, a slimmed down field of Democratic presidential contenders is set to take the debate stage for a 6th and final time in 2019. Tonight, the candidates will seek to convince voters that they are the party's best hope to deny President Trump a second term. You can hear that debate tonight starting at 8 p.m. Wall Street time right here on Bloomberg Radio. One day after impeaching President Trump, the Democratic-led House is expected to overwhelmingly pass one of his signature priorities. A bill implementing terms of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement is expected to pass today with bipartisan support. In the NHL, the Devils won. In the NBA, the Celtics were winners. The Wizards lost along with the Warriors. Global news, 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg, Nathan.
Thanks, Michael. It's 6:20 on Wall Street, live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studios. This is Bloomberg Daybreak. In less than an hour, we get a rate decision from the Bank of England following moves by the Riksbank in Sweden and the Bank of Japan. Let's get a preview now from Bloomberg Economics senior UK economist Dan Hansen. Of course, negative interest rates, unlike in Sweden, aren't really an issue in the UK, but we're not really expecting any movement in rates today from the BOE, right?
That's absolutely right. So we're expecting the Bank of England to remain on hold today. We expect there to be a dovish bias from the Bank of England, mainly because we've seen a weak string of data coming out of the UK. And if you remember back in November, 2 members of the Monetary Policy Committee voted to cut interest rates by 25 basis points. And we expect those 2 members again today to reiterate that call for a rate cut. So the Bank of England today on hold, but probably sounding a little bit more dovish again.
So are you expecting that we could hear from more than those 2 central bankers to add to that dovish bias?
So there's definitely a risk of that. Our base case is that it's just 2 today, but there is certainly a risk that more join that chorus. I think the outlook moving into 2020, there are some positives. There are also some negatives, and we can go through each of those. On the positive side, there's a fiscal boost coming from the government. And Brexit uncertainty, while it is still there in the background, certainly in the near term, there has been some reduction. The worst forms of Brexit have been taken off the table by Boris Johnson gaining a big majority. And the global economy, it still looks shaky, but the Phase 1 trade deal and marginally better data coming out of Europe suggests that the global backdrop isn't quite as weak as it was in 2019.
Still, there is the overhang, isn't there, of the future trade relationship between the UK and the European Union, given that Prime Minister Johnson is taking a further extension of the transition period for Brexit off the table, yeah?
So there was always going to be a lot of uncertainty about what the future trading relationship looked like. And yes, Boris Johnson is planning to legislate to not extend the transition period. I mean, he said in his manifesto that he didn't want to extend the transition period. It's the step to legislate, I think, caught markets off guard. That said, what we do know from the Brexit process, having watched it for 3 years, is that both sides have gone to great lengths to avoid a no-deal exit. So, yes, it's an aggressive negotiating stance, but there are plenty of ways he can row back on that later on. For the economy, though, of course, that risk, the fact that it's hanging over the economy, and if the talk between both sides around no deal escalates, that could feed back onto the economy, and the Bank of England will certainly be watching that.
What are you expecting Governor Carney to say about the prospect for the fiscal stimulus that Prime Minister Johnson is promising?
So the way the Bank of England treat fiscal policy is they take government policy as given. So the members of the MPC will know this fiscal stimulus is coming, but they won't really be able to say much about it until it becomes official government policy. And it's likely to become official government policy when there's a budget. And the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Sajid Javid, has indicated that a budget in the UK is likely to come in February. So once that comes, the Bank of England will be able to take it into its forecast. And in all likelihood, it would boost growth of fiscal stimulus, and it's around investment spending as well. The government's looking to increase, and that tends to have the biggest impact on the economy.
No, just about a few seconds left here. How long are you expecting the Bank of England to stay on hold?
So for the majority of this year, and we lean slightly against the consensus with our view at Bloomberg Economics. We think the economy is likely to pick up a little bit over the course of this year, and by the end of the year, we think it's more likely the debate's going to be focused on hikes rather than cuts. But there is this near-term period we need to get through, and if there's any more deterioration in the data, then the chance of a cut will rise in the near term, certainly.
Dan Hansen, Senior UK Economist at Bloomberg Economics. Thanks for this morning. Again, the Bank of England decision, 7 a.m. Wall Street time. We will have full coverage here on Bloomberg Radio. Right now, some strengthening for the pound against the dollar. 130.96 is the current level. You are listening to Bloomberg Daybreak.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. The House today scheduled to vote on the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Free Trade Agreement. The deal, which will replace NAFTA, cleared the House Ways and Means Committee, but the Republican-led Senate is not expected to take up the deal until next year. Nike reports its earnings today, and Bloomberg analysts say the company could deliver some solid results. They're forecasting 11% year-over-year profit growth, driven by momentum in China. Stocks remain at or near record highs following a mainly little changed session on Wall Street. The stock futures are flat to higher. Canada Goose parkas can cost upwards of $1,000 or more, and despite a recent published report that sellers of the coats are being more aggressive with their discounts, analysts say investors can rest easy. Researchers at Evercore found no evidence of drastic sales. Shares fell last week after the New York Post said Canada Goose was on track to double its holiday discounts this year to an average of 13%. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
Message and data rates may apply. T&C and privacy terms can be found at babbel.com/terms. Please don't text and drive.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then try Babbel for free by texting EXPLORE to 64,000. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just text EXPLORE to 64,000 and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or text EXPLORE to 64,000 and try it for free. Text EXPLORE to 64,000.
Why has JD...
'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can fill your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Batteries running low? Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We hunt in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
Ho, ho, ho. Who's made a list this year?
I want a new phone. One with amazing cameras, ultra-wide lens, of course, live focus video. Well, it has to be 5G ready to stream all my films. Can it come with something awesome to listen to them through?
Darling, I think he was talking to the kids.
Get everything you want and more. Purchase a Samsung 5G ready device and claim a pair of silver wireless Galaxy Buds at no extra cost. Shop our 5G handsets in store or online at your local O2 store or o2.co.uk. 18 plus. Plus. Offer excludes Galaxy Fold 5G. Purchased by the 25th of the 12/19. Claim from Samsung within 30 days. T's and C's apply.
Are you curious what others are listening to on TuneIn? Head to the trending section under Browse to see the most popular stations and podcasts among TuneIn listeners right now. Check it out. You might just discover something new for yourself.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Forget the cheese basket and socks this holiday season and get the ones you love and even the ones you just kind of like. A subscription at TuneIn Premium. With TuneIn Premium, you'll be giving them the gift they can enjoy all year long. Featuring live NFL, NBA, NHL, and MLB games, commercial-free news, and nonstop music. TuneIn Premium brings the best of audio to you. This year, we're making Santa's job a whole lot easier. So, forget the stocking. Stuff their phone with TuneIn Premium. Search Premium to start your free trial.
Along the goal line, Martin scores! It takes it home!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores!
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
Gonna move, hit a shot, he scores!
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today. From the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York, Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C., Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston, Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco, Bloomberg 960 to the country, Sirius XM Channel 119, and around the globe, the Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Daybreak.
It's 6:30 on Wall Street. Good morning, I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow. We are just about 3 hours away from the opening of U.S. trading. Let's get you up to date on the news you need to know at this hour. U.S. futures are little changed this morning as investors largely shrug off the impeachment of President Trump. We'll have more on that in a moment, but first, the focus is on central banks this morning.
Indeed. Let's begin in Sweden, where the Riksbank ended half a decade of sub-zero easing, raising its key interest rate out of negative territory. It's a move that puts pressure on the European Central Bank, according to Bloomberg opinion columnist Marcus Ashworth.
I think it's momentous because I think it leads us to probably say that at some point the ECB ought to be recognising that they're going to raise won't work. Lagarde wants a year to settle things down after quite an aggressive move in September under Draghi and buy herself some time to have a real think.
30 minutes from now, the Bank of England is forecast to leave rates unchanged, but the focus will be on how many policymakers dissent. We get more from Bloomberg FX and rate strategist David Finnerty.
Of all the central banks today, I think B of E is actually the most interesting one because the market's going to go, how are you going to digest this latest development of the election? I actually think two will come out. I wouldn't be surprised a third, maybe even an outside chance of a fourth member saying they're going to cut rates.
And finally, the Bank of Japan held steady overnight but changed its statement to point to a brighter economic outlook. We get details from Bloomberg's Paul Jackson in Tokyo.
The Bank of Japan left policy untouched as a government stimulus package, progress in US-China trade talks, and signs of a bottoming of the global slowdown brightened the economic outlook. Still, economists noted that risks to trade and even Brexit remain. It's also yet to be seen how the economy will pick up from a sales tax and a typhoon. In Tokyo, Paul Jackson, Bloomberg Daybreak.
All right, Paul, thank you. Back here in the U.S., shares of Micron Technology are up about 4% in early trading. The company gave a strong forecast and said it's through the worst of a slump in the memory chip industry.
And Deutsche Bank will reportedly cut 6,000 jobs tied to its private banking division. That's according to Handelsblatt, which says the cuts are part of the 18,000 the German lender plans to eliminate by 2022.
S&P futures are little changed this morning, along with NASDAQ futures. Dow futures are up 21. The 10-year Treasury down 8/30 seconds. The yield 1.94%, and the yield on the 2-year 1.64%. And we check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day on Bloomberg. NYMEX crude oil up 0.1% or 7 cents at $61 a barrel. And COMEX gold is down about 0.1% on $1.20 to $14.7750 an ounce. The euro 1.112 102.28 against the dollar. The yen is at 109.52. And straight ahead, we have the latest world and national news. And this is Bloomberg.
All right, Karen, thank you. It is 6:33 on Wall Street, and this news update is brought to you by the Jewish Communal Fund. JCF's donor-advised fund is the smart choice to manage your philanthropy. Open a JCF fund now to lock in a 2019 tax deduction. Visit jcfny.org. Now, here's Michael Barr.
Nathan, thank you very much. The House of Representatives impeached President Donald Trump on charges of abuse of power and obstructing Congress.
On this vote, the yeas are 229, the nays are 198, present is 1, Article 2 is adopted.
The historic votes, which won the support of almost all Democrats in the House, but not a single Republican, make Trump only the third president in U.S. history to be impeached. The chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, New York Democratic Representative Jerry Nadler, reacted to President Trump's impeachment.
Gives us no pleasure to stand here today. But President Trump's conduct has put our next election at risk. President Trump's behavior puts the integrity of our constitutional order at risk. And President Trump's continued actions put the rule of law at risk.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she won't immediately name House managers to act as prosecutors in the Senate trial until we see what the process is in the Senate. As for President Trump, he held a rally in Battle Creek, Michigan. He took a swipe at Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, the widow of the longest ever serving member of Congress, John Dingell of Michigan. Trump recounted his A-plus treatment he gave the family after Dingell's death in February.
She calls me up. It's the nicest thing that's ever happened. Thank you so much. John would be so thrilled. He's looking down. He'd be so thrilled. Thank you so much, sir. I said, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Maybe he's looking up. I don't know.
Congresswoman Dingell wrote, I'm preparing for the first holiday season without the man I'd love. You brought me down in a way you can never imagine. Democratic presidential candidates will take the stage tonight for the sixth debate of the nomination race. The candidates will likely focus on policies that are sharply dividing Democrats, including health care and taxes. 7 contenders will gather for the 3-hour debate in Los Angeles, starting at 8 p.m. Wall Street time, and you can hear that right here on Bloomberg Radio. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg, Nathan.
Thanks, Michael. We're coming up to 6:36 on Wall Street. Time for the Bloomberg NBC Sports Update. Here's John Stashower.
Nathan, the Yankees have won 210 games over the last 2 seasons, but one thing was missing. A true ace, a guy who you knew would be on the mound for an opening day or a postseason opener, and Garrett Cole. They have that ace. Comes off a brilliant season in Houston. He went over 4 months without losing a game. Doesn't come cheaply. 9 years, $324 million. But with Cole taken off the Astros and on to the Yankees, it makes the Yanks the favorite to win a 2020 championship, and that's fine with Cole.
Pressure is a privilege. Pressure comes in situations that you've earned, right? You know, you pitch in big games in September and October because you've played well all year. I came 8 outs away from getting a ring. I'm as hungry as ever to finish that journey, finish that challenge. And in my opinion, there would be no better place to do it than New York.
Grew up a Yankee fan, shaved the beard, as all Yanks have to do. He's getting his number 45. Luke Voigt is switching to 59. Hockey in Newark, battle of the last place teams. Kyle Palmieri scored on the power play. Devils took the lead. They beat Anaheim 3-1. St. John's beat Albany 85-57. St. Peter's lost at UConn. Stony Brook lost at Virginia. Wagner lost at LaSalle. Late last night, Utah beat 6th-ranked Kentucky. The Jets' lone Pro Bowler, safety Jamal Adams, limited in practice but could return from the ankle injury Sunday against Pittsburgh. Giants quarterback Daniel Jones had the same injury. He practiced, was not limited. Looks like the rookie will start Sunday in Washington after Eli Manning pinch hit the last 2 games. For the Bloomberg NBC Sports Update, I'm John Stashower. Nathan?
John, thanks. Coming up today, we get a raft of U.S. economic data, including figures on existing home sales. Economists predict they dipped in November. Here with more is Bloomberg's Vinny Del Giudice.
Even with today's projected sales decline, Bloomberg Economics says housing will add to fourth quarter GDP. Data earlier in the week showed November construction starts advance with building permits the highest since 2007. Also today, jobless claims. They should settle down after a seasonal spike. Filling out the list, current account trade, the Philly Fed Factory Index, the leading indicators. Bloomberg customers can find a full list of economic indicators by typing EcoGo on their Bloomberg terminal. Vinny Del Giudice, Bloomberg Daybreak.
All right, thank you, Vinny. It is 6:38 on Wall Street.
The following commentary is from Bloomberg Opinion.
It can always get worse for FedEx. I'm Brooke Sutherland, a columnist for Bloomberg Opinion. Back in June, I wrote that FedEx had managed to fall out of a basement window when its 2020 forecast fell well short of low expectations. 2 guidance cuts later, it seems we've sunk below the foundation and are in the dirt with the worms. The latest of these misses came after the close of trading on Tuesday. At the low end of its guidance range, FedEx is facing an earnings slide nearly on par with what it experienced in fiscal 2009 amid the financial crisis. What's worse is that its plan to fix this debacle rests largely on a just trust us defense from a management team that continues to point the finger for its woes at a weak industrial economy and rising e-commerce costs. Rivals UPS and DHL seem to have a better handle on those things. That doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. I'm Brooke Sutherland. For more opinion, visit Bloomberg.com/opinion or OPIN Go on the Bloomberg terminal.
This has been Bloomberg Opinion.
And you can hear Bloomberg Opinion commentaries every weekday at this time. And terminal customers can read more at OPIN Go. It's 6:39 on Wall Street. Time for the Bloomberg Small Business Report. Here's John Tucker.
Robin Bell is a registered nurse and president of a health and wellness business, Roadrunner Specialty Group. The group deals with people who are chronically ill. And to meet a demand she says isn't going away, she's expanded her small business to include cannabis consultation.
We work with anyone that has a need for education. So we actually do a lot of peer-to-peer education. We educate nurses, doctors, and pharmacists who want more knowledge about cannabis, and they can't get it in a lot of the institutions.
The company teaches its clients how to safely use marijuana products for pain and depression. An increasing number of patients are asking their doctors and pharmacists about cannabis products, and with limited resources at their disposal, she's counting on those health professionals to turn to Roadrunner for the answers. Yeah, that's the Bloomberg Small Business Report. I'm John Tucker.
All right, John Tucker, thank you so much. A little movement in the equity markets this morning, at least as far as the futures go. S&P futures, little changed right now. Dow futures ahead by 20 points. That's a little change to higher. NASDAQ futures are down by 3 points. 10 years down. 830 seconds yield there 1.94%. 2-year Treasury yield 1.64%. Stay with us. You're listening to Bloomberg Daybreak.
Rich is just a really, really good guy. The term good egg isn't enough to describe him. He's also certified organic and free range. Rich puts the cap back on everything. The toothpaste, the olive oil, the shampoo, everything. He lets his 10-year-old nephew beat him at virtual tennis, even though he can straight up slay his 10-year-old nephew in virtual tennis. When the toilet paper is running low, Rich replaces the roll on the actual holder, not just on the back of the toilet. Rich is texting and driving. Rich? No. What are you doing, Rich? I was just telling everyone how great you are. Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed